AITA for returning with divorce papers and proof after my wife kicked me out over a lie. I'm Timothy, 37, and when this happened, Fiona and I had been married for 6 years. I was the husband who rinsed the coffee pot even when I hadn't used it, replaced the empty paper towel roll without announcing it, and paid the mortgage before I bought anything for myself. I don't say that because I think basic responsibility made me some kind of saint. I had plenty of flaws. My biggest one was that I avoided confrontation until avoiding it became its own kind of dishonesty. For years, I told myself I was protecting my marriage by not forcing Fiona to choose between me and her family. What I was really doing was teaching her younger sister exactly how much disrespect I would absorb to keep the peace. Fiona was 39, confident, organized, and used to being the person everyone listened to. At the beginning of our relationship, I admired that about her. She could walk into a chaotic room, ask 3 questions, and have everyone moving in the same direction. She remembered birthdays, handled emergencies without panicking, and never seemed uncertain for more than a few seconds. But when Fiona decided she was right, facts became obstacles instead of information. That was especially true when it came to her sister, Kendra. Kendra was 31 and had been drifting from one crisis to another for as long as I knew her. There was always a late fee, a bad roommate, a short paycheck, a broken appliance, a friend who had betrayed her, or an employer who had it out for her. None of the emergencies were ever her fault. They were also never quite serious enough to change how she lived. She would show up for dinner wearing new shoes and spend 20 minutes explaining why she couldn't cover her phone bill. The first few times Fiona helped her, I said nothing. Families help each other. I had done the same for people I cared about. But Kendra didn't treat help like help. She treated it like access. She also treated our marriage like a private show she was entitled to review. At one Thanksgiving dinner, she looked around our kitchen and said, "I still don't understand how Fiona ended up being the one who settled." I was standing at the counter cutting pie. I looked over. Settled for what? Kendra gave me a wide-eyed look, like she had been misunderstood by the slowest person in the room. "I meant settled down," she said. Fiona laughed and touched my arm. She didn't mean it like that. Don't make this a thing. Another time, after Fiona and I had a disagreement about replacing the car, Kendra texted me the next morning. "You need to stop making Fiona feel guilty for wanting better." I had never told Kendra about the argument. When I asked Fiona why her sister knew the details, she leaned against the bathroom counter and folded her arms. "I needed someone to talk to." "You told her how much money is in our savings account." "She's my sister." It was a private conversation between us. "You're not going to control who I talk to." That was how most conversations about Kendra ended. If I objected to the insult, I was insecure. If I objected to the money, I was controlling. If I objected to our private life being repeated, I was isolating Fiona from her family. So I started choosing my words carefully. Then I started choosing silence. Fiona usually apologized later, in private. She crossed a line. She would say while we were getting ready for bed, "I'll talk to her." But the next time we were all together, Kendra still acted like I was an employee who had married above his position, and Fiona still told me not to overreact. A private apology never corrected a public insult. I understood that eventually. I just understood it too late. The money was what finally pushed everything into the open. Fiona and I used a joint checking account for the mortgage, utilities, insurance, groceries, and other shared expenses. We kept a cushion in it because neither of us liked the idea of one unexpected bill putting us behind. One evening, I opened the banking app to confirm that an insurance payment had cleared. The balance was lower than I expected. At first, I assumed I had forgotten a bill. Then I saw 3 transfers spread across 12 days. $400, $650, $300. Each one had a vague note attached. Help, emergency, short term. All 3 went to Kendra. Fiona was standing at the kitchen island, eating takeout noodles directly from the carton while answering messages on her phone. I turned the screen toward her. "Why are there 3 transfers to Kendra this month?" She didn't look at the phone immediately. She finished typing, set her phone down, and took another bite. She needed help. With what? Different things. That's $1,350. I can count. I'm not saying you can't. I'm asking what it was for. Her expression changed before her voice did. Her shoulders pulled back, and her mouth tightened. Her rent was short. Then her car needed work, and she had a medical bill. All in 12 days. Yes, Timothy. Sometimes several bad things happen at once. We keep that money for shared bills. You could have told me. I didn't realize helping my sister required an application. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. I closed the banking app. What I mean is that this is our joint account, and those transfers came out of the mortgage cushion. The mortgage is paid. That isn't the point. Then what is the point? The point is that you made repeated transfers without telling me, and now you're acting like asking about them is an attack. Fiona pushed the carton away. Not every family issue needs your permission. Not every issue does. Money from our joint account does. She stared at me for a moment, then picked up her phone and walked out of the kitchen. The next morning, she was polite but distant. That was one of Fiona's methods. She didn't yell often. She created a cold space around herself and waited for the other person to cross it with an apology. I didn't apologize. 2 days later, Kendra accused me of trying to sleep with her. I came home just after 7 and knew something was wrong before I made it through the entryway. The living room lights were all on. Fiona sat upright on the couch. Her mother, Iris, was in the armchair by the window with her purse still on her lap. Kendra sat beside Fiona, wrapped in the gray blanket we kept over the back of the couch. There were 3 untouched mugs on the coffee table. Kendra's eyes were red. She was holding a tissue in both hands. Fiona didn't say hello. Sit down, she said. I put my keys in the bowl by the door. What happened? Sit down. Her tone made it clear she believed she was managing a situation, not beginning a conversation. I stayed standing. What happened? Kendra looked at the floor. Fiona said, Kendra told me about the messages. What messages? Don't do that. Do what? Pretend you don't know. I looked from Fiona to Kendra. I have no idea what you're talking about. Kendra made a small sound and pressed the tissue to her mouth. Iris said, Timothy, this can still be handled quietly if you stop making it harder. Handled quietly? I asked. I just walked in. Fiona picked up her phone from the coffee table and held it out. On the screen was a screenshot of a text conversation between Kendra and me. The image showed 3 lines from my number. We should talk without Fiona involved. You know she won't understand. Come by when she isn't here. Under those lines, Kendra had written, This is inappropriate. Stop. I read it twice. The phrasing looked familiar, but not in that order and not with that meaning. Where is the rest of the conversation? I asked. Fiona pulled the phone back. That's your response. My response is that this is cropped. Kendra started crying harder. I knew he would do this, she said. I knew he'd make me look crazy. I looked directly at her. Show the full thread. She shook her head and leaned toward Fiona. Fiona moved closer to her and put an arm around her shoulders. You don't get to interrogate her. She is accusing me of something serious. She told me what happened. What exactly did she tell you? Fiona stood. That you have been sending her messages for weeks. That you kept trying to get her alone. That you told her I wouldn't understand because our marriage has been bad for a long time. None of that happened. Kendra spoke into the tissue. You cornered me when Fiona was out. I stared at her. When? Her eyes flicked toward Fiona. A few weeks ago. What day? I don't remember the exact date. Where did I corner you? At the house. Inside or outside? Fiona stepped between us. Enough. No, not enough. She said I cornered her. I'm asking where. You're scaring her. I'm standing 6 feet away asking for a date. Kendra pulled the blanket higher around herself. Fiona said, She came here because you told her to come while I was gone. I never told her to come here. She said you opened the door, pulled her inside, and told her not to tell me. That accusation hit differently. The texts were insulting. What Kendra had just claimed could destroy far more than my marriage. I took out my phone. Here, take it. Fiona didn't move. Search my messages, I said. Search deleted messages. Search call history. Compare the dates. Do whatever you need to do. This isn't about performing innocence. It's exactly about evidence. You always do this, Fiona said. You turn feelings into a courtroom. Kendra is accusing me of trying to start an affair and physically cornering her. This isn't a disagreement about feelings. Iris sighed. Sometimes a man needs to apologize to protect his marriage. I looked at her. A marriage protected by a false confession is already broken. Fiona's face hardened. You can sleep somewhere else until you learn how to respect my family. I could hear my own breathing. The refrigerator hummed from the kitchen. Somewhere in the house, the dryer made a dull thump as something heavy turned inside it. I realized nobody in that room was waiting for my answer. They were waiting for my surrender. Fiona had already called her mother. Kendra had already been placed on the couch under a blanket. The mugs had already been poured. The scene had begun before I arrived. I looked at Fiona. Did you ask to see the full conversation? She showed me enough. Did you ask what day this supposedly happened? Don't blame her for not remembering every detail. Did you check the camera? Her eyes shifted slightly. We had a driveway camera and a doorbell camera. Fiona knew that. Why would I need to check a camera when my sister is sitting here terrified? Because terror isn't a timestamp. Kendra whispered, see? This is how he talks to me. Fiona pointed toward the hallway. Pack a bag. I didn't argue again. Not because she was right. Because I finally understood that nothing I said in that room would remain what I had actually said. Every sentence would be retold in a way that supported the verdict they had already reached. I walked to the bedroom and packed clothes, toiletries, medication, my laptop, chargers, and the small fireproof pouch that held copies of our important documents. Fiona stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. You should be thinking about what you're doing to us, she said. I am. You're being cold. I offered you my phone. You offered me a performance. I zipped the bag. What would innocence look like to you? A person who cared would be horrified that she felt unsafe. I am horrified. I'm horrified that she lied and you didn't ask me one question before treating it as fact. Fiona's jaw tightened. There it is. No accountability. I picked up my laptop. Accountability for what? You know what? No, Fiona. That is the problem. You won't even state exactly what you think happened because then we could test it against facts. She moved aside. Get out. I carried my bag to the front door. Iris was now standing near the couch. Kendra remained seated, but she was no longer crying. She watched me with a stillness that didn't match the shaking she had performed earlier. Fiona took my keys from the bowl and opened the door. I stepped outside. She threw the keys after me. They struck the porch boards, bounced once, and slid near my shoe. Don't come back until you're ready to admit what you did, she said. I bent down and picked them up. I'll leave tonight, I said, but I won't confess to something that only happened in your sister's version of the story. I walked to my car without looking back. I drove 2 blocks, pulled into an empty parking lot, and sat there with both hands on the steering wheel. My first impulse was to call Fiona. I wanted to force her to listen. I wanted to go through every line of the screenshot until she admitted it didn't make sense. Instead, I opened our text thread and typed one message. You asked me to leave the house tonight. I am leaving without admitting wrongdoing. All communication about this accusation needs to be in writing. She responded with a thumbs up. A minute later, another message appeared. Of course you're making yourself the victim. Take whatever time you need, but do not come back until you are prepared to apologize to Kendra and get help for your behavior. I took screenshots of both messages. Then I called Graham. Graham and I had been friends since our early 20s. He wasn't sentimental when somebody needed practical help, which was exactly what I needed that night. He answered on the second ring. You sound strange, he said. Fiona threw me out. There was a pause. What happened? I told him. He didn't interrupt until I described the screenshots and Kendra's claim that I had cornered her at the house. Where are you now? In my car. Don't go back. I wasn't planning to. Good. Come here. And stop calling Fiona. I only sent one text. Keep it that way. You don't need the perfect speech. You need a timeline. At Graham's place, he cleared a space at his dining table while I opened my laptop. He handed me a glass of water and said, start with the original messages. I pulled up my thread with Kendra. There were months of messages, most of them ordinary. Questions about dinner times. Links to things Fiona might like. Requests for help moving furniture. Then I found the exchange that had been cropped. It was from nearly 2 months earlier. Kendra had messaged me at 10:43 p.m. Can you talk to Fiona about helping me with the deposit? She listens to you when you act supportive. I had replied the next morning. No, we should talk without Fiona involved because you keep asking her for money and putting me in the middle. Kendra responded. Why would we talk without her involved? That sounds weird. I wrote. You know she won't understand why I'm saying no if you make it sound like another emergency. I'm not discussing our finances through you. Then Kendra wrote. Come by later and explain it to me. My response. No, do not come by when she isn't here. I'm done having private money conversations with you. Kendra. Wow, you're making this creepy. Me. I'm making it clear. The screenshot Fiona had shown me removed Kendra's messages, cut pieces from 3 of mine, and rearranged the visible section so it looked like an invitation. Graham read the thread over my shoulder. She edited this. Yes. Back it up. I exported the conversation, took full screenshots with timestamps, and saved copies in 2 places. Now the cameras, he said. Our security app automatically saved motion clips for 30 days unless we downloaded them. Kendra had said the incident happened a few weeks ago, which meant there was a chance the footage still existed. I logged in. The app showed dozens of clips, delivery drivers, Fiona leaving for work, neighborhood cats, me carrying trash bins, Kendra pulling into the driveway. I froze the video. The timestamp was 18 days earlier, on a night Fiona had gone out with Iris. The driveway camera showed Kendra's car arriving at 7:12 p.m. She got out, looked toward the windows, and walked to the porch. The doorbell camera showed her ringing once and then knocking. I remembered the night. I had been cleaning the kitchen when she showed up without warning. I opened the door with the chain still latched. The camera captured the angle from above. My face was partly visible through the gap. What are you doing here? My recorded voice asked. I need to talk to you. Fiona isn't home. I know. Then call her. This is about the money. I'm not discussing that with you. Kendra stepped closer to the door. Can I come in? No. Timothy, stop being dramatic. I said no. Call Fiona. I closed the door. The outside camera showed Kendra standing on the porch for another minute, typing on her phone. She left at 7:20. 8 minutes. She had never entered the house. There was no physical contact. There was no invitation. There was no corner. The camera didn't show a man trapping anyone. It showed Kendra trying to enter a house she hadn't been invited into and leaving after I refused. I downloaded every clip and saved the original files. For a moment, I felt relief. Then the relief turned into something heavier. Fiona could have checked the same footage. She hadn't forgotten that the cameras existed. She had simply decided her sister's performance mattered more than verification. Graham leaned back in his chair. This clears you. It should. That isn't the same thing as saying Fiona will accept it. I looked at him. He tapped the table. She didn't ask for evidence before throwing you out. Don't assume evidence will make her reasonable. Protect yourself first. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Clara was 44, direct, and unimpressed by dramatic phrasing. I gave her a factual version of what had happened, showed her the written message confirming Fiona ordered me out, and explained the accusations. She listened without interrupting, then asked specific questions. Has Fiona repeated the accusation to anyone outside the family? I know she told her mother. I don't know who else. Any threats? No. Any police report? Not that I know of. Any shared children? No. Did you remove money from the joint account? No. Good. Don't drain it. Don't stop paying required obligations. Redirect future personal income only after we review what is appropriate. And don't meet any of them alone. She reviewed the full text thread and the videos. This evidence is useful, she said. But discipline matters as much as proof. Don't win the argument at the cost of the case. She advised me to keep communication written, preserve original files, document every payment, and avoid emotional accusations that could be taken out of context. She also drafted a letter stating that the allegations were disputed, contradicted by available records, and should not be repeated as fact without verification. I asked whether the letter would make things worse. Worse than being accused of predatory behavior. No. Then stop managing their comfort. That sentence stayed with me. For 6 years, I had managed Fiona's comfort. I had softened every concern so she wouldn't feel criticized. I had allowed Kendra's insults to become jokes. I had accepted private apologies because asking for public correction felt confrontational. Now I was sleeping in Graham's spare room while my wife demanded a confession for something that had never happened. I couldn't manage that into a healthy marriage. Over the next several days, I reviewed our finances. I expected to find the 3 transfers I had already seen. I found much more. The joint account showed smaller transfers going back 7 months. Some were labeled groceries. Some said loan. Some had no note at all. Fiona had also transferred money from an individual account she controlled, which wouldn't have been my concern except that she had repeatedly moved money from our joint account into that account shortly before paying Kendra. The total wasn't enough to bankrupt us, but it was enough to affect decisions we had made together. We had delayed replacing a leaking section of the roof because Fiona insisted we should preserve cash. We had canceled a trip because she said our savings needed to recover. Twice, she had criticized me for spending money on things we had already budgeted for. During the same period, she had sent Kendra thousands of dollars. The dates created a pattern. Kendra would ask for money. Fiona would transfer it. I would notice the balance or ask about spending. Within days, Kendra would tell Fiona I was controlling, suspicious, or threatened by their relationship. The false accusation came 48 hours after I asked about the newest transfers. I sat at Graham's table with the statements spread across the screen, and the motive became obvious. The lie wasn't just meant to make me look disloyal. It was meant to make me stop asking questions. I sent Fiona a short written request for copies of certain joint financial records and asked her to preserve all relevant messages. She responded 20 minutes later. I cannot believe you are worrying about money after what you did to my sister. I wrote back. I deny Kendra's allegations. I am requesting records related to our shared finances. Please keep further communication factual and in writing. Her reply was immediate. You sound like a lawyer. I didn't answer. That afternoon, Iris called me. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was almost 2 minutes long. Timothy, I understand you feel cornered, but everyone is hurting. Fiona has barely slept. Kendra is embarrassed and frightened. You have always been a calm person, and I think that is why your reaction feels so cold. Sometimes taking responsibility isn't about agreeing with every detail. It is about protecting the family. Please call me. I saved the voicemail. Then I received a message from Maeve. Maeve was Fiona and Kendra's cousin. She was 46 and had never been especially close to me. She wasn't hostile either. She was the kind of person who came to family gatherings, helped clean up, and left before arguments became entertainment. Her message said, "Can you talk?" I replied, "In writing, please." A few minutes later, she sent a screenshot. It was a conversation between Kendra and one of her friends. The friend's name was visible, but I didn't know her personally. Kendra had written. The friend replied, "Then tell her the truth." Kendra. "She'll make me pay it back." Friend. "That doesn't make what you're doing okay." Kendra. "If he's gone long enough, Fiona will calm down and forget about the money." I read the message several times. Then I called Maeve, with Graham sitting nearby. Maeve answered quietly. "I know you said writing," she said, "but I need to explain where that came from." "Go ahead." Kendra's friend sent it to me. She knows I'm related to both of them. She said Kendra had been bragging that Fiona would always choose her. Did the friend say the screenshot is real? Yes. She offered the full thread if needed. Why send it to me? Maeve exhaled. Because Iris called me and told me what you supposedly did. Then Kendra's friend contacted me. The stories don't match. I don't want to be part of another family cover-up. Another? She paused. Not like this. Just other situations where everyone decided keeping peace mattered more than asking what happened. I looked at Graham. Will you send the original file and the friend's contact information to my attorney? Yes. Thank you. I'm not taking sides, Maeve said. You don't have to. I mean it. I don't know everything about your marriage. Neither did anyone who decided I was guilty. She was silent for a moment. That's fair. The message changed the situation. The bank records showed motive. The camera footage disproved the physical claim. The full-text thread exposed the edited screenshots. Maeve's forwarded message showed that removing me from the house had been part of Kendra's plan. Clara prepared legal separation documents and began drafting a divorce petition. I hadn't gone into her office certain that I wanted a divorce. Some part of me still believed Fiona might look at the evidence, understand the scale of what she had done, and ask how to repair it. But every message from her assumed the same thing. I would eventually come back, apologize, and accept whatever conditions she set. She never asked for my version. She never requested the camera footage. She never asked for the full text conversation. She asked whether I had started taking accountability. That was when I stopped thinking of the situation as a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding can be corrected by information. This was a power structure. Fiona believed her moral certainty gave her the right to punish me first and verify later. Kendra knew it and used it. I told Clara to proceed. I redirected my direct deposit into an individual account after following her advice, but I continued paying my documented share of the mortgage, utilities, and insurance. I didn't empty the joint account. I didn't cancel anything essential. Every payment had a record. Clara sent a certified letter to Fiona stating that I disputed the allegations and requesting that she stop repeating unverified claims as fact. The letter also confirmed that I had left the marital home at Fiona's direction rather than voluntarily abandoning it. 2 days after the letter was delivered, Fiona called 7 times. I didn't answer. She sent a text. "You had a lawyer send me a threat?" I replied. "It wasn't a threat. It was written notice. Please communicate by text or email." She wrote, 6 years of marriage, and now I need permission to call my husband? I typed several responses and deleted them. Finally, I wrote, 6 years of marriage didn't earn me a question before you threw me out. She didn't respond for the rest of the day. The next morning, she sent a longer message. "I want to believe there is an explanation, but your behavior since leaving has been disturbing. You are treating this like a financial dispute instead of acknowledging the emotional harm you caused. Mom thinks we should sit down as a family. Kendra is willing to hear an apology if it is sincere. I am willing to discuss you coming home if you agree to therapy and complete honesty." I forwarded the message to Clara. Her reply was brief. "Do not attend without witnesses and a clear purpose." I didn't answer Fiona immediately. That evening, Maeve messaged me again. Fiona had contacted her about a family dinner. Maeve believed Fiona intended to pressure me into apologizing in front of everyone. She also said Kendra was telling relatives that I had admitted enough by leaving. That phrase made my decision for me. I replied to Fiona, "I will attend one meeting. Maeve must be present. I will not discuss the accusation privately, and I will not agree to any condition before presenting documentation." Fiona answered, "This isn't a courtroom, Timothy." I wrote, "Then stop treating accusations as verdicts." The dinner was scheduled for the following Sunday, exactly 3 weeks after Fiona threw me out. Clara had the divorce petition prepared. Depending on procedure, formal service would be handled properly after filing, but she gave me a copy of the papers and the separation proposal to present at the meeting. She also organized a concise evidence timeline, so I wouldn't get pulled into side arguments. "Don't debate character," she told me. "Present facts. State your decision. Leave." Graham offered to come with me, but I declined. Maeve would be there, and I didn't want Fiona later claiming I arrived with someone to intimidate her family. Before I left, Graham stood in his doorway and looked at the document case in my hand. "You sure?" "No." "Good answer. I thought you were supposed to tell me I'm doing the right thing. I think you're doing the necessary thing. That usually feels worse." When I arrived at the house, my key still worked, but I rang the bell. Fiona opened the door. For 1 second, neither of us spoke. She looked tired. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore the dark blue sweater she usually wore when she wanted to look composed without appearing formal. Her eyes dropped to the document case. "What is that?" Everything I said I was bringing. Her expression tightened. "Come in." The dining room table had been set for 5 people. Plates of roasted chicken, vegetables, and bread sat untouched. Iris was already seated. Maeve sat across from her, hands folded near a glass of water. Kendra was beside Fiona's chair. Kendra didn't look frightened. She looked annoyed. Fiona took the seat at the head of the table and gestured toward the empty chair opposite her. I remained standing long enough to place the document case beside my plate. Iris cleared her throat. "We are all here because we love both of you." Maeve looked down at the table. Fiona said, "Let's not make speeches." I sat. No one reached for the food. Fiona folded her hands. "This has gone on long enough. I asked you here because I am willing to hear you out, but only if you are finally prepared to be honest. I looked around the table. Kendra had positioned a tissue beside her plate. Iris gave me the same tight, expectant expression she had worn 3 weeks earlier. Maeve met my eyes briefly, then looked toward Kendra. Fiona continued. If you admit what you did, apologize to Kendra, and agree to therapy for your behavior, we can discuss what coming home would look like. I opened the document case. Fiona leaned back slightly. So, she said, are you ready to be honest now? I placed the divorce papers on the table and slid them toward her. I am. That's why I brought paperwork instead of an apology. Fiona stared at the first page. She didn't touch it. Kendra's hand stopped halfway to her water glass. Iris said my name under her breath. Fiona stood so quickly that her chair scraped across the floor. What is this? You know what it is. You're filing for divorce? Yes. Over this? No. Because of this. She looked from the papers to me. You're seriously choosing divorce over an apology? No. I'm choosing divorce because you chose an accusation over 6 years of marriage. Her face flushed. I was protecting my sister. You punished your husband. Kendra shook her head. He's trying to scare you. I opened my laptop. No, Kendra. I'm documenting what you did. Fiona pointed at the screen. I told you this isn't a courtroom. And I told you I would present documentation. I pulled up the first image, the screenshot Kendra had shown Fiona. This is what she gave you, I said. Kendra crossed her arms. You sent those messages. Parts of them. I opened the exported conversation beside the screenshot. Here is the full thread. Fiona didn't sit down. She leaned over the table and read. I went line by line. Kendra asked me to pressure you into giving her more money. I refused. I said we should talk without you involved because she kept using you as an intermediary. She removed her request for money. I highlighted the next section. I said, you know she won't understand why I'm saying no if you make it sound like another emergency. She cut off everything after understand. Then the final section. She told me to come explain it to her. I said no, do not come by when she isn't here. She removed the word no and the rest of the sentence. Then she rearranged the visible lines. Fiona looked at Kendra. Kendra's voice became sharp. He is twisting the context. I turned the laptop toward her. This is the original export from my phone. The timestamps match the carrier backup. Which part is twisted? You know how you talk to me. I know exactly how I talk to you. That is why I saved it. Kendra looked at Fiona. He always makes everything sound reasonable after the fact. I clicked the audio file. A voicemail played through the laptop speakers. My voice was calm but irritated. Kendra, stop using Fiona as a wallet and stop putting me in the middle. Do not come to the house to discuss money when she isn't there. If you need help, talk to both of us honestly. The recording ended. Iris shifted in her chair. Fiona finally sat down, but she didn't look away from Kendra. That voicemail wasn't inappropriate, Maeve said. Kendra turned toward her. You weren't there. Maeve replied, none of us were. That is why the records matter. I opened the security footage. The driveway video showed Kendra's car arriving at 7:12 p.m. The doorbell video showed her asking to come inside. My recorded voice refused. The departure clip showed her leaving at 7:20. I paused the footage on the timestamp. You said I invited you here while Fiona was gone, pulled you inside, and cornered you. Kendra's face had gone pale. The camera doesn't show inside the house. You never entered the house. You could have deleted part of it. The clips are continuous motion records from 2 cameras. The original files include metadata. The security company can verify them. You opened the door. With the chain locked. You were aggressive. My exact words are on the recording. Fiona pressed her fingers against her forehead. Kendra, she said, you told me he pulled you inside. Kendra's eyes filled again. I felt trapped. You were on the porch, I said. Stop telling me how I felt. I am not telling you how you felt. I am stating where you stood. She turned to Fiona. See what he's doing? He's picking apart every detail to make me look like a liar. I closed the video. You accused me of physical misconduct. The details are the accusation. I placed printed bank statements on the table. These are the transfers I asked Fiona about 2 days before Kendra made the claim. Fiona looked at the statements but didn't reach for them. I continued. The 3 transfers that month totaled $1,350. They weren't isolated. There were repeated payments over 7 months, including money moved through another account after coming from our joint funds. That is between me and my sister, Fiona said, but her voice had lost its earlier certainty. It became my business when you used shared money, concealed it, and punished me for asking. I didn't conceal it. You called each payment a one-time emergency. There were more than a dozen. Kendra pushed her chair back. This is disgusting. You came here to humiliate us over money. I looked at her. The lie wasn't just meant to make me look dirty. It was meant to make me stop asking questions. That's insane. I took out the screenshot Maeve had sent. Maeve's eyes moved to Kendra before I even placed it on the table. I slid it toward Fiona. This is a message Kendra sent to a friend after I was thrown out. Fiona picked it up. Her lips moved slightly as she read. I watched her reach the line. If he's gone long enough, Fiona will calm down and forget about the money. Her hand lowered. For several seconds, the only sound was the quiet ticking of the wall clock near the kitchen. Kendra turned to Maeve. You went through my private messages? No, Maeve said. Your friend sent them to me. What friend? That isn't the point. It is absolutely the point. Maeve looked at her steadily. Kendra, is any part of what he just showed you as fake? Kendra opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She looked at Fiona. It was the same look she had used every time I challenged her before. It expected rescue. It expected Fiona to change the subject, question my tone, or declare the evidence cruel. Fiona didn't rescue her. Kendra, she said, answer her. Kendra's chin lifted. I'm not participating in this ambush. You arranged the first one, I said. She pushed away from the table. I knew he would manipulate all of you. I kept my voice level. You called cropped screenshots proof when they made me look guilty. Now that the full records prove you lied, suddenly evidence is manipulation. I didn't lie about how unsafe you made me feel. You lied about being invited. You lied about entering the house. You lied about being cornered. You edited messages to imply an affair. Feelings don't turn those claims into facts. Kendra looked at Iris. Are you just going to let him attack me? Iris had gone very still. I asked him to apologize, she said quietly. Kendra's expression changed. What? I told him a real husband would apologize to protect the family. You were trying to help. I was helping the wrong person. Kendra grabbed her bag. Fiona stood again. Sit down. No. Sit down and explain the message. I don't owe anyone an explanation for a private conversation taken out of context. Fiona laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That is exactly what you said about Timothy's messages. Kendra stared at her. For the first time that night, she looked afraid. Not of me. Of losing Fiona. I was desperate, she said. He was trying to cut me off from you. I asked why money was leaving our joint account. I said. You hate that she helps me. I hate being lied to. Kendra pointed at me. He has been trying to turn you against me for years. Fiona looked down at the bank statements. No, she said. He kept asking me to set boundaries. Kendra's face tightened. So now you're taking his side? Fiona looked up. This isn't a side. Did you fabricate the screenshots? Kendra didn't answer. Did you tell me he pulled you into the house? Kendra's eyes moved toward the doorway. Fiona's voice rose. Did you? I said I felt cornered. You said he pulled you inside. I was upset. You said he touched you. My stomach tightened. Fiona hadn't used that specific wording in the original confrontation. Kendra had apparently expanded the story after I left. I looked at Fiona. She told you I touched her? Fiona closed her eyes briefly. Yes. Did you repeat that to anyone? Iris looked down. Fiona said, I told Mom. Who did she tell? Iris swallowed. Maeve. And your brother called me, so I may have said there was a serious accusation. I took a slow breath. This is exactly why my attorney sent the letter. Fiona stared at me. Your attorney? Yes. You already decided to divorce me before coming here. I decided after you spent 3 weeks demanding a confession instead of asking for facts. I was lied to. You were lied to, I said. Throwing me out without checking was your choice. Her eyes filled. You think I wanted this? I think you wanted control of the outcome. That isn't fair. You invited me here to apologize under conditions you had already written. You didn't invite me to tell the truth. Fiona looked at the divorce papers again. Her voice softened. Can we talk alone? No. Her head lifted. Timothy. No private conversation. Not tonight. I am your wife. You were my wife when you put me on trial in this room. I was trying to protect my sister. And now you know what that cost. Kendra moved toward the hallway. Fiona turned on her. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. You are going to answer me. Kendra's voice cracked. I made a mistake. A mistake? I panicked. You told me he wanted you. He was asking about the money. You were already angry with him. I thought if you had some space. You told me he touched you. I knew you wouldn't take it seriously otherwise. Fiona stepped back as though Kendra had moved toward her. The confession was not dramatic. Kendra didn't collapse or explain some complicated plan. She said this sentence quickly, defensively, like the real problem was that Fiona had forced her to be specific. That made it worse. Iris covered her mouth. Maeve looked away. Fiona stared at her sister. You knew I would throw him out. I thought he would apologize and come back. For something he didn't do? He always gives in eventually. The words settled over the table. Kendra had understood my role in the family better than I had. I was the person who gave in eventually. The person who accepted a private apology. The person who let public disrespect pass because pushing back would make dinner uncomfortable. She had built her plan around my silence. Fiona sank into her chair. Kendra tried one more time. You said he was controlling. You said you were tired of him questioning you. I was angry about the money. You said he made you feel judged. That didn't give you the right to invent this. I was protecting us. Fiona looked at her with open disbelief. Us. Kendra's voice became smaller. You and me. Fiona pushed the bank statements away as though they smelled bad. How much do you owe? Kendra didn't answer. How much? I don't know. You know? I can pay it back. With what? Kendra's eyes hardened. You're really doing this in front of him? Fiona glanced at me, then back at her sister. You did all of it in front of him. Iris stood slowly. Kendra, you need to leave. Kendra looked at her mother. Mom. I said leave. Of course. Everyone believes paper over me. Maeve spoke without raising her voice. The paper shows what happened. Kendra grabbed her coat and walked toward the front door. She stopped beside me. You ruined this family. I didn't turn toward her. No. You counted on everyone preferring peace to truth. She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the glass. No one moved for a while. The dinner remained untouched. Steam no longer rose from the vegetables. A drop of condensation slid down Iris's water glass and pooled on the table. Fiona sat with one hand over her eyes. Iris returned to her chair. Timothy, she said, I owe you an apology. I looked at her. She continued. I assumed your calmness meant you didn't care. I thought if you were innocent, you would be more emotional. I was emotional. I know that now. No, you know I had evidence. That isn't the same thing. She looked down. You're right. Maeve didn't apologize for doubting me because she had never told me she believed the accusation. Instead, she said, I'll correct what I heard and what I repeated. That matters, I said. Fiona lowered her hand. We can fix this. I looked at her. Her eyes were red, but her voice still carried the reflex of command. She was not asking yet. She was announcing what should happen next. Kendra is cut off, she said. No more money. No private conversations about our marriage. I'll tell everyone she lied. That should happen whether we stay married or not. We can go to counseling. I'm not agreeing to that tonight. Why not? Because you are treating the correction like a negotiation. She stared at me. I just found out my sister manipulated me. And I found out my wife's trust lasted exactly as long as nobody cried in front of her. That is cruel. It is accurate. Her face tightened. I didn't enjoy saying it. I didn't feel victorious watching her cry. The proof clearing my name didn't restore the 3 weeks I had spent wondering who had heard I was dangerous. It didn't erase the image of my keys striking the porch. It didn't change the fact that Fiona had expanded the accusation to other relatives while refusing to look at my phone. She reached for the papers. Are these filed? The petition is being filed through my attorney. Formal service will be handled correctly. So this was just a performance? No. This was notice. You invited me here expecting submission. I came to state my decision in front of the same people who watched you throw me out. She looked at the first page again. You planned all of this. That isn't how a husband acts. I almost laughed, but stopped myself. You don't get to define how a husband should act after deciding he was guilty without hearing him. I took out the letter Clara had prepared and placed it beside the papers. From now on, communication about finances, the house, and the divorce will be in writing or through Clara. I will continue paying my documented share of required obligations until we have a legal agreement. I will not move back into the house. Fiona's eyes widened. You're not coming home? No. Even after this? Especially after this. She pressed both hands to the table. I made a mistake. You made a series of choices. She was crying. She showed me messages. You chose not to ask for the full messages. She said you touched her. You chose not to check the cameras. I was in shock. You stayed in shock for 3 weeks while demanding that I confess. I thought you were hiding behind legal language. I was protecting myself from another lie. Her voice dropped. I love you. That was the hardest sentence of the evening. If she had screamed, blamed me, or defended Kendra again, leaving would have felt simple. But I believed she loved me. I also believed she had built a version of love in which I was safe only while compliant. I love you too, I said. She began to cry more openly. Then why are you doing this? Because love didn't stop you from treating me as guilty. And it won't stop the next accusation if nothing changes. I said Kendra is out of our lives. This is not only about Kendra. She caused this. She created the lie. You gave it authority. Fiona flinched. Iris said quietly, he's right. Fiona looked at her mother as if she had been betrayed again. Iris continued. I helped. I told him to apologize before I knew what happened. I wanted the family to look stable. That was wrong. Fiona turned back to me. Give me time. You have time. The divorce process isn't instant. Pause it. No. Please. I spent 6 years pausing every boundary because you promised to handle Kendra later. Her shoulders dropped. What do you want me to do? Correct the accusation to every person who heard it. Make clear that I didn't abandon the marriage. You ordered me out. Preserve all messages and financial records. Communicate in writing. Those aren't conditions for reconciliation. They are the minimum steps for accountability. A private apology is not enough, Maeve said. Fiona looked at her. Maeve's voice remained calm. You made the accusation public inside the family. The correction has to reach the same people. Fiona nodded slowly. I packed the statements and laptop back into the document case. I left copies of the relevant records with her attorney letter. As I stood, Fiona moved around the table. Can I hug you? I shook my head. Her face folded for a second, then she looked away. Iris walked me to the door. I am sorry, she said again. I believe you. Will you ever forgive her? I don't know. That was the truth. Over the next week, Fiona sent written corrections to relatives. They weren't perfect at first. Her first draft said there had been a misunderstanding involving incomplete information. I replied through email. It wasn't a misunderstanding. The screenshots were fabricated, the physical allegation was false, and available video contradicted it. Please correct the record accurately. She rewrote the message. This time she stated that Kendra had altered text screenshots, made false claims about entering our home, and admitted exaggerating the allegations so Fiona would take it seriously. Fiona also wrote that I had left because she ordered me to leave, not because I had abandoned her. Some relatives apologized. Some said nothing. One uncle sent me a message saying, families are complicated, as though complexity erased responsibility. I didn't respond. Maeve confirmed to several relatives that she had seen the records and that the original accusation was not supported by the evidence. She didn't become my defender in every conversation. She simply refused to allow the false version to continue unchallenged. That was enough. Iris left me another voicemail. This time, she didn't ask me to protect the family. She said, I should have asked for the truth before asking for peace. I saved that voicemail too, though for a different reason. Fiona cut off Kendra financially. That decision exposed more problems. Kendra had unpaid balances, personal loans, and several stories about where the money had gone. Fiona learned that some of the medical expenses had been late credit card payments. The car emergency had been partly real, but the amount Fiona sent was almost twice the repair bill. Several transfers had covered rent because Kendra had spent rent money elsewhere. When Fiona asked for repayment, Kendra accused her of choosing a man over blood. I only knew this because the information came through written disclosures and messages relevant to the financial separation. I didn't contact Kendra. I didn't need revenge beyond the truth. Without Fiona's money and automatic protection, Kendra's version of past conflicts began to fall apart. Relatives started comparing stories. People who had once accepted her vague claims began asking dates, amounts, and specifics. Kendra hated specifics. Fiona asked me to attend marriage counseling twice before the initial divorce hearing. The first time, I declined. The second time, she wrote, "I know I cannot undo what I did. I am not asking you to forget it. I want one chance to understand whether anything can be repaired." I read the message more than once. Then I discussed it with Clara and with a therapist I had begun seeing on my own. I agreed to one session, not as a pause in the divorce, but as a structured conversation. Fiona arrived with a notebook. She looked thinner and less certain than I had ever seen her. During the session, she said she had believed Kendra because Kendra had cried, because the edited messages looked convincing, and because Fiona already felt defensive about the money. The therapist asked, "What did you believe about Timothy that made the accusation easy to accept?" Fiona didn't answer immediately. Finally, she said, "I believed he resented my family. I resented being treated like an outsider in my own marriage," I said. She nodded. "I know that now." The therapist asked why she hadn't checked the camera. Fiona looked at her hands. "Because if I checked and Kendra was lying, I would have to face everything Timothy had been saying for years." That was the most honest thing she had told me. She had not believed Kendra because the evidence was strong. She had believed her because the lie protected Fiona from admitting that I had been right about the pattern. We attended 2 more sessions. They helped us speak clearly, but they didn't restore the marriage. Fiona wanted counseling to become a bridge back to the life we had. I saw it as a way to end without leaving the truth buried under anger. At the final session, she asked whether there was anything she could do to make me stay. I thought about the ordinary parts of our marriage. Sunday coffee, grocery lists written on the back of envelopes, the way she rested her feet on my lap while reading, the songs she sang badly on purpose because it made me laugh. I didn't hate her. That made leaving harder, not less necessary. I would need to know that the next accusation would be investigated before I was punished, I said. I would need to know our finances were honest. I would need you to defend me publicly when the disrespect was public. And I would need to believe you saw me as a partner, not the person responsible for restoring peace after everyone else crossed a line. I can do those things. Maybe you can now. Then why won't you let me? Because I had to lose my home and defend my reputation before you decided those things mattered. She cried quietly. I did too. The divorce moved forward. We reached an agreement on the house and shared finances without a prolonged fight. Fiona kept the house after refinancing. I received my agreed share of the equity. The joint account was closed after all obligations were settled. Communication stayed written, and neither of us publicly attacked the other. Kendra did not attend any further family meetings involving me. Fiona remained separated from her for months. I heard they eventually began limited contact again, but Fiona did not resume paying her bills. That was no longer my decision to monitor. The last time Fiona and I met in person before the divorce was finalized, we exchanged a few remaining personal items in the parking lot outside Clara's office. She handed me a small box containing photographs, 2 books, and the watch my father had given me. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know. I wish I had checked." "So do I." She looked at me for a long moment. "Do you think we could have survived Kendra's lie?" "Yes." Her eyes filled. "Then what ended us?" "You needed me to confess before you needed to know whether I was guilty." She nodded once. There was nothing else to argue about. I carried the box to my car. Months earlier, I would have considered that ending a failure because no one was fully satisfied. Fiona regretted what she had done. I lost a marriage I had expected to keep. Iris had to confront the harm caused by demanding peace without truth. Kendra lost the money and protection she had treated as permanent. But the false story no longer belonged to them. The people who heard it received the correction. The records were preserved. I did not return to the house under conditions built around a lie. I did not confess to save appearances. I did not destroy anything, threaten anyone, or turn the situation into an online war. I simply stopped volunteering to be the person who gave in eventually. Fiona had asked if I was ready to apologize. I was. Just not for the lie her sister told. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.